Hello, and welcome to the Salem Station Podcast, a show where we rank and review all of your favorite horror movies. I'm your co-host, Robert.
And I'm your co-host, Alex, and today we have a guest, Cynthia.
Hi.
And this episode, we're going over movie number 90, the last movie on our 90s portion of the show.
Finally gonna break the 90s. Finally gonna break the 90s. Quick note before we start the show today. Sorry for the awkward schedule that we've had. School has not been kind to us.
Yes. And I work and have school, so it's like a double whammy.
And I'm just lazy.
Press your luck.
I'm just lazy. So that just adds to the issue.
Yeah, sorry about that. This is episode number 90, and that movie is 2008's Cloverfield.
Unfortunately.
I feel like we say that every episode. I mean,
we're at the bottom of the list.
Nature, yeah. Also, I might re-explain the whole concept of the show because I feel like I don't feel like I haven't explained it well. There's 95 movies on this list, as you probably may have gathered already if you've watched this far. There's 95 movies that I've watched. I've watched all of them. My co-host hasn't watched all of them. He's seen a couple. This is based off of my rankings. I've ranked them all as in terms of preference. So my favorite is number 1, obviously. My least favorite is 95. 95 is my least favorite, which, if you look back, is Critters. And so each episode we go up the list, going towards my favorites. So then, in terms of quality, I like Terrifier a little bit more than Critters, which is why it's 94. Then it's 93, which is Leprechaun. 92, which is I Know What You Did Last Summer. Then it's The Purge. This movie I like a little bit more than The Purge. And then next movie, I like a little bit more than this movie. And it goes on. And then
eventually we'll get to the good movies.
Eventually, yes. That's why if you hear these episodes and you hear us complain about them, it's because they're my least favorite ones.
Eventually we'll get to good movies, yeah.
Yeah. But this movie is on the bottom of the list. 2008's Cloverfield. It's our first found footage film. I'll explain what that means and a brief history of found footage. Last episode we kind of touched upon it, but we'll go in depth on this episode. And it's a found footage film about giant creature attacking the city. I think they're called kaiju movies.
Yeah.
It's like Godzilla.
Yep.
It's like Godzilla. Now, this movie the concept of that isn't that fascinating to me, to be honest. It would not have been on this list if not for the found footage aspect. I literally could have replaced this with Godzilla or something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Throughout the entire movie, I was just like, this is basically Godzilla. Like, I watched a Godzilla movie. This is basically
a shittier Godzilla. But like a slightly shittier Godzilla.
Human point of view watching Godzilla destroy the city.
Yeah, that's the only reason it's on my list, because it's found footage, which is known. It's primarily used in horror. I think it can be used in other genres, but it's mostly used in horror, and it's the only reason why it's on this list. Only reason. Critters would have made the cut, and not even this would have. But
hey, don't
what is found footage? Yeah, we have adopted the Krites as our unofficial mascot of Salem Station.
We will get Art.
Art the Clown?
No, Art. I mean Art of Critters. I haven't talked to Robert about this at all, but I'm planning to get Art done. So expect to see that
like
relatively
fan
soon.
art and stuff.
Yeah, fan art of Critters. Me and Robert is Critters.
Oh, me. Oh. I think it meant like us, like holding like Critters or something.
No.
I mean,
way
that
better
too,
than that.
I guess. But
yeah.
Nah.
But I guess us is Critters.
Yeah, us is Critters. That's gonna be it.
Yeah. I honestly thought you meant like Art as in Art the Clown, and I was like, oh, you're just gonna grab characters from each movie, they were gonna go on to Lefty.
I mean, we could. That's another idea.
Then Ben Wilson.
Let us know on the Instagram what you guys would rather see.
Zombie Ben Willis.
Zombie Ben. Oh God, no, please. If you mention him, you will be banned. We will ban you. I will personally log into the account and ban your ass if I see Zombie John Willis or Ben Willis, whatever the fuck he was.
But you might be asking yourself, what is found footage? If you haven't seen last episode, which I mean, understand because that episode was a mess.
Name is fairly, the name is fairly explainable. Explainable? Yeah, it's self-explanatory. I don't know why I can't speak today.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a podcast and I still can't speak.
No worries. I don't like speaking at all.
This was your idea. Have this podcast. This whole operation was your idea. What the fuck you mean you don't like speaking?
I thought it was just Robert, the horror fanatic, having all of his friends watch his favorite movies.
Yeah, that's honestly the only reason why. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just to guilt trip us into watching his movies. Me specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, what is found footage? In case if you don't know what that is, it's a subgenre of horror. It's one of the many subgenres. There's many. You got zombie movies, universal monster movies, normal movies, slashers. This is one of the this one actually boomed in popularity at the end of the 90s, 2000s. What is it? Well, it's when you're looking at the events of the movie through the lens of a person. So it's usually first person. Most movies are obviously shot in third person. These are usually first person, but what makes them unique is that they're usually behind the lens of a camera. For instance, the two most popular instances of found footage are the Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, both which have right to be the most popular instances because the Blair Witch Project, found footage did exist. I think there's a movie called Cannibal Holocaust, which is a horror movie.
Yeah.
I think that one had used it, but it wasn't until the Blair Witch that came out and ingrained itself into pop culture. Like Blair Witch, like during that era, 1999, when it came out, it became a huge success. Its budget insanely small because it's just a handheld camera that you're behind and you're seeing the events unfold. And Blair Witch, popular for popularizing found footage, and then Paranormal Activity kind of give it an extra punch give it an extra kick. And so yeah, I'm sure you guys at least know Paranormal Activity. It became a household name, the way like Chucky has. But yeah, we'll get a bunch of other found footage films, interesting takes on found footage, like the movie Unfriended. It isn't actually a handheld camera, rather it's through webcams. But yeah, that's what this movie is, and it's the only reason why this movie is on this list, I think, because the concept, as I said, of a monster kind of just raging through a city isn't that intriguing. When they kind of added this element of found footage to it, it was like, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, but I kind of don't care about the people I'm watching.
I kind of don't care about the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The movie, it really doesn't. It doesn't make you care for the characters too much, not until the end at least. And even at the end, you're like, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I think what added more to that was that it's like you have this giant raging monster that's not really real, while if they threw in something that's, I don't know, more psychological on a smaller level, like a human can actually do, maybe it would have made it scarier. But the giant monster, just like we said before, threw me back to Godzilla. Godzilla was just on my brain the entire time.
And Godzilla's so much better. Not only a better movie, but like just a better idea.
Yeah.
It's just a better idea overall.
Yeah, which we'll go over into the idea of this franchise in a second because I have a lot to rant about. But when it comes to making found footage films, they do tend to be cheaper because you're filming with like an everyday device, whether it be through a phone or a camera. It isn't like using like your casual cinematography.
It's inherently
cheaper. You don't have to worry about shots or how things will look because it's what an everyday person would film. But that being said, when you do that, you have to have a good reason as to why the person keeps on filming. For instance, Blair Witch Project, the reason they keep on filming is for the reason for a documentary. They want to capture the witch, which is why they keep on filming this idea of this witch in the Bricketsville forest, which we actually watched, and I think Cynthia joined us for that, so she can probably compare that to this.
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity, the reason why they keep filming, having the cameras in the bedroom and having a handheld device is because they want to capture the paranormal, activity. They want to capture the paranormal activity that's occurring in the household. Which I think the demon's name is Tommy in that one. There has to be a reason why. I've seen found footage where, like, Unfriended, for instance. Unfriended is a good instance where the camera has to keep on rolling because the cyber witch Laura Barnes tells them if they leave or hang up, they die. So it gives them a reason to keep the webcam on. The Taking of Deborah Logan, another one, which I think does it all right. This movie, I feel like, has no reason to do that. Literally, the reason why they start filming at the beginning is because this character named Rob is leaving to Japan, and they're recording this party to give him the footage afterwards, and he could look at it while he's away and remember of his friends. But why would you keep on recording the disaster going out to the city? Who's gonna want to look back on that,
Not only that, but the person recording was drunk off his ass.
Yeah.
I actually forgot to ask something that I normally do. Already putting up the movie and forgetting the outline I have for these episodes. Cynthia, do you have a favorite horror movie that you enjoy, or one you want to see and but haven't had the chance of seeing? One that intrigues you?
I don't know. I enjoy horror movies, but I've never really had a favorite in that department. I guess I'm more into thrillers, things where the villains end up winning, because that's how I just personally I'm tired of seeing the good guys winning sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's just me. Pet
Have you
Cemetery is
seen?
actually really good. I actually really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
But
Have
I
you
saw
seen?
the new one, so and Robert hyped up the older ones for me, so I hope
Yeah.
to watch those.
Yeah, it's funny because you've seen the new one, but not the old one, and I've seen the old one, but I haven't seen the new one. So it's an interesting It was weird when we were discussing it because you were hitting some beats and you're like, Robert, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then we realized, oh, it's different ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can watch both just to see how they compare. I like the old one. Sometimes dead is better. I don't know. I just like it. But yeah, Pet Cemetery. I'll have you on for that episode, I guess.
Yay.
I do like that movie though, so it's pretty high up. So it won't be for a while. But yeah. But you said you like villains winning. Have you seen Saw, the first one?
I saw, yeah.
Yeah. That one I do like. I know people have this preconceived idea of what Saw is. I believe it started off another subgenre that's popular in horror called the torture porn subgenre, where it's people just getting their bodies torn apart. Like in one of the Saw movies, I forget which one it is, there's this woman whose head is in a contraption and her scalp's getting ripped off. It's just seeing random stuff. Hostel is another franchise that is under the torture porn subgenre, but people have this conceived idea of, which is right, that Saw is this gory, messy, bloody movie, which it kind of is, but the first one is pretty tame. I'm trying to get people to watch Saw. People are like, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to get disgusted, but it's pretty tame. It's more of a crime, a mystery is what it is.
Psychological, isn't it?
Yeah. It's more of that. It's not. I mean, there obviously are some moments because it's what inspires the rest of the franchise, but it's really good. It's like The Ring. It's The Ring. People think it's Samara coming out of the TV and whatnot, which that is in there, but it's both are a crime. It's like a mystery you want to see solved, and it's really satisfying. The Ring, not The Ring. The Saw is, I believe, made by James Wan and Lee Whannell. James Wan would go on to, he started the Saw franchise, which is a juggernaut of a franchise, and went on to do Insidious, which started that franchise, and then went on to do Conjuring 1 and 2, which started another franchise. The guy starts franchises, and he makes great horror films. And Lee Whannell, who was the other guy who helped make Saw, he went on to direct recently the new Invisible Man movie. So yeah, both guys great in horror. Usually in their movies they put little Billy the Puppet nods in there. So I know in Aquaman there was little Billy the Puppet because James Wan directed that. Wow, I went on the tangent. But yeah, I guess I can have you on any one of those episodes that we do.
All right, I look forward to that then.
What would you say was your overall opinion on the movie Cloverfield?
It was entertaining to watch. I mean, I'm pretty simple. If it catches my eye, it's a good movie for me. But like the ending, I like the ending the best. It's just it was I don't know, something about the ending just really made it for me. But the events leading up to it, it was kind of cheesy in some sense.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like this. Oh, what about you, Alex? What are your thoughts on the movie overall?
Shittier Godzilla.
Alrighty then.
It just sum it up. I mean, okay, let me go a little deeper than that. I don't know. It was all right. I mean, it was relatively entertaining. I mean, it kept your attention a lot better than some of the other movies that we've been watching. But I don't know. Just I just kept thinking back to Godzilla and comparing it to. I couldn't help but compare it to like Godzilla and other kaiju movies that do it so much better. And I think a lot of people agree, right? Like, I think this is like the worst rated movie out of the quote unquote trilogy that they have going on.
No, this is the second. People usually claim that Cloverfield Paradox is the worst, the third one. Yeah.
I mean that just the story.
Yeah, that just made it worse.
Yeah,
it made it worse.
I'll go into the legacy of this movie. It's gonna be a long portion, even though it's only 3 movies. But boy, have I got something to say about it. But
we should probably get into the movie.
Yeah.
That's why everybody's here.
Probably start discussing what the movie is. So the movie starts off. By the way, movie directed by Matt Reeves. Guy knows how to direct a movie. I love his the new Planet of the Apes trilogy. Really great.
I still need to watch that. Still need to watch the
final. Seen all 3 in theaters. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes. All good. Love them all. The guy knows how to make a movie. This one, for some reason, falters. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Matt Reeves, what happened here? But yeah, and it's produced by J.J. Abrams, one of my least favorite people in Hollywood, and I will explain why.
Come on, man.
Sorry, J.J. Abrams. I know people like you, but I will rant about you after. But anyways, so we'll go into the plot of this movie. So yeah, as I said, it starts off. It actually, and what I think is pretty cool, before you actually see like footage from the camera, you see it's like a black screen. It's like a gray screen, and there's words, and it says like property of the U.S. Department of Defense, and it states that like this movie is like part of the government now, and you're like, and it's paused for a second, so you think like, is the movie going? Like, what's wrong? And then the footage starts, and you're like, and then you'll see at the end where this kind of ties into that. But the footage is part of the government owns it now, and the government designates the footage and calls it Cloverfield. So the footage you see, it starts off with like this guy named Rob, and he's waking up in his apartment or something. I don't know, and he has a camera that it's his, and he's gonna have a farewell party, and so one of his friends, I think, ends up using it to record.
It was his brother. His brother got Rob's camera.
Yeah.
He like pawned it off on him.
Yeah. I think his name was it Jason? HUD? No, was it HUD?
No, HUD was the one doing
HUD.
the recording.
HUD's recording,
right?
Yeah.
It was Rob and Jason.
So HUD is recording. He's the friend.
Yeah,
HUD. His picture is so funny.
HUD is the best friend of Rob, and he's the one who's seen recording the majority of the movie. He's best friends with Rob. I think Rob's brother is Jason.
Rob's brother is Jason.
Jason's dating this chick named Lily, and Rob likes this girl named Beth. He's kind of mad at himself for not having made any moves with her, I believe. And also, there's
heavily intoxicated.
And then, so we're filming Rob's moving to Japan, which I think is a nod to kaiju movies because Godzilla originated from Japan, right? So it's probably like, like this is what we're referencing. He's moving to Japan, it's a circle, we're tying it back together. And you see HUD, who is a complete dick. I don't know why we're following this guy. I would rather see what Jason would be from his point of view, but we're seeing it from HUD's point of view. And he's just drunk, and he's in charge of filming. The reason why he's filming is because he's in charge of filming all the goodbyes.
Well, the reason why he's in charge was because Jason was like, I don't want to do this. Do this. And Lily was like, why aren't you doing it? He's like, oh, no, I asked him to do it.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so Jason was in charge of filming, but he didn't want to do it. So he gave it to HUD, who, come on, Jason, you should have filmed. This really would have been better if you were filming it. But HUD's in charge of filming it instead.
Why? Because it would have ended?
Too soon.
Okay. Yeah. I agree, though. I agree. We'll move on to that. A little bit of a spoiler for the future.
So HUD's filming all the goodbyes, and he's going to people like, say your goodbye to Rob, and he's filming it. But instead of filming like everyone, he goes to this one chick whose name is Marlena. And he's like into her, so he's filming literally the rest of the party. The rest of the night is just filming her, and you can tell that she's uncomfortable. Like he's like, oh, like who's your, like, say your goodbye, and she's like, I don't even know the guy. I'm just here because like a friend invited me. And he's like, no, come on, like it'll be great. And he was like, do you remember me? And I was like, he's trying to like get her like conversation going with her, but she's not interested. And he's like completely drunk and completely out of it. Like, come on, man. Rob enters, and he didn't realize that there was a surprise party, and they're all like, surprise. And then he's like, yay, like everyone's here except for Beth. She comes in later, who Rob likes, but Beth, I think, comes in with another guy.
She comes in with another dude, and Rob is like
jealous.
Yeah, very jealous.
And you could see that like the party isn't going that well for him. Like he was surprised at first and excited for the party thrown for him, but then once he sees Beth with another guy, he's like, oh, like, okay, I guess I'll just go sit down over here in the corner.
It was really funny the way they did that in the film, because you could see the automatic shift. It was like joyous person to like really depressed, and it made me laugh just seeing that just instant shift.
Yeah, and then so like it's all depressed, and then Beth decides to just go home because I think she gets in an argument with Rob, and she and her guy, they're like let's just leave, and they leave. And they're like, okay, like this. I mean, let's just continue having fun. And then they feel like the earth shake, and there's like this large like booming noise, like this crashing sound. And they like what was that? What was that? And they all go to like the roof of the building. Oh, yeah, I forgot. This takes place in New York because it obviously does. You gotta have New York get destroyed by mutant creatures or crocodiles and the whatnot. And so they go to the top, and they're like, what is it? Can you see? And you see like this fire, like on the horizon, and they're like, what is that? Like, I don't know. And so they all go to the street because everything's still shaking. The building's moving around.
Didn't like a building collapse?
Oh yeah. I think that was once they were on the street. Was it? I
thought it was when they were on like the earthquake happened. It's like first instinct, obviously go to the roof because why not, right?
Yeah, let me get to the highest point of the building. So if I fall, it'll be quick.
I could have sworn a building
Hey, they don't live in California.
Destroyed.
They don't know the rules. Probably might have been. It's been a week since we've seen this.
That's complete transparency. It has been a week since we saw this goddamn movie.
To be fair,
school's been rough. I pulled a fucking all-nighter the other night. I have been sleep deprived. Give us a break.
I try not to pull all-nighters because I usually have like work the following day, and I don't want to be at work sleep deprived. I want to keep my job, guys. But
no, you don't.
No, you're right. Any chance I get
every time I talk to this man, he's like, I should quit.
I mean, he's like Yuli and Enrique, right?
Yeah, our friends who work at Home Depot and Lowe's and have like a gang war going on.
I guess, but yeah, they go to the floor. They go to the street level, and they're like what's that? What's that? Like fire? Like what's causing this? Like, can you catch it on film? And they see like what appears to be like balls of fire, like go into the sky, and one of them crashes into
balls of
fire. One of them crashes into a building and they're like, "What is that?" And then it crashes onto the street, and it's the head of the Statue of Liberty, which I'll admit is pretty cool. That's
that
pretty
was
cool.
pretty sick. That was pretty sick.
It
Yeah.
actually scared me, not gonna lie, because
Yeah,
That
like
scared
seeing the
because I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. Like the beginning of the movie, because it was just all mellow for me, and then just having that, just like I'm pretty easy to scare, so
no,
that's why I love
yeah,
horror, but why I also hate it. So
yeah. No, I'll be honest. That actually not
understandable.
like it didn't like jump scare me, but it also kind of like terrified me in a way because, like, we like you assume like it's just a creature bumping into buildings, knocking things over or whatnot. But the fact that it was able to launch the head of the Statue of Liberty, not only decapitate it, but launch it well into the city, like that's pretty terrifying if you think about it. Like to put that into perspective. And so yeah, the head just tumbles onto the street, and it's almost like, oh, okay, this ain't no earthquake then. It's something launched to this. Also, I'm pretty sure it's there for symbolism or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
anyway,
I could see the metaphor they tried to do.
yeah. And so I believe they do get like he zooms in on like the flames and everything of like what's like a couple blocks down, and he sees like this shadow move. You don't quite get a good look at it, but you see like this shape move, and he's like, "There's something there. There's something there." And that's when they see another building collapse, and they run into like this little store area, this little retail area, like a little like 7-Eleven or something.
Convenience
They
store,
all
yeah,
run.
like a convenience store.
Yeah, they run into it, and you see like the whole street just engulfed in like ash and smoke. Which, by the way, looked pretty similar to our conditions a couple weeks ago because there was a fire nearby where we live. So yeah,
All of
relatable.
California is burning. Let's just say.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just say a gender reveal went crazy. But yeah, and then the whole street's covered in ash and fire and smoke. It's all gray, and well, like, what's going on? What's going on? And I believe they see a TV, and they're playing like this footage of the news, and they're from a helicopter, and so you're seeing down below is what their perspective is. You see the creature for like the first time. It's not a well shot view of the creature, but you kind of see it kind of like hunched over between the buildings, just knocking things down. And that's when they decide, like, okay, let's get out of here. Like, let's leave this store. And they go out, and they follow the crowd of people, and they're leaving the island. They're like, we have to get off this island and go onto the mainland. And that's when they start. It's Jason, who's the brother, Rob, Hud, who's filming it, and Lily. Those four.
And Marlena.
Yeah, Marlena. What?
Did you say
She
Beth?
shouldn't even No, I didn't say it. I meant
Okay.
like, of course, her character. Her character really doesn't even need to be there, but Marlena is there too. Those five are going, and they're gonna go onto the bridge, and they're on the bridge, and like they stopped because they're like looking at all the fire and all the rampage for the city, and they're leaving it all behind. They think they're safe, and they see the monster. They're like, okay, we're moving past it. We're on safety, and then they kind of stop on the bridge because it's full. It's max capacity.
Congested.
Yeah, like that gave me anxiety because if I didn't see that this year, I would have been fine. But seeing it, like knowing like the whole 6 feet distancing, like every time I see a crowd that big, like in a movie or something, I'm like, something doesn't seem right here. It's like, oh no, that's today. But yeah, I got anxiety from just looking at that, like, counted people. But yeah, they stopped, and you see this helicopter like flying over them, and Jason somehow got ahead of them, and he's in the crowd, like
He
hey
was
guys, like
being pushed away by people, but that was both scary and both like annoying. Thinking
Yeah.
about all these like crowds and seeing people like just in fucking chaos. That got me. I'm like, oh no, that's bad. Like that's scary. And then, but I'm like, if you're in that situation, the thing you would want to do is like tightly hold on to the people close to you. And
Yeah.
Jason's just like he got. It's like when you're holding on to a child, he just went away somehow, and you're just like, where'd you go? How'd you get there? And
yeah. But to be honest,
you know,
I think what makes it terrifying is the fact that would actually happen. Like, people would just shove each other. I'm surprised they didn't show a scene of like people getting stampeded when running.
Stampede in those on that crowded bridge.
Yeah.
I kind of would have expected to see people like
It's New
jumping over
York.
each other or something.
No one gives a fuck in New York.
But yeah, they're leaving, and and then there's like a helicopter above, and so Jason's like pretty far away, and they're filming Jason. HUD's like, Jason, like come back over here, or no, Jason's like, come over here, like come on, like I'm halfway to the bridge, I'm halfway across the bridge, like come on, we're almost there, and you see like this huge tentacle just come out of the ocean and just snap the bridge in half. And Jason's gone. I think it also like gets a helicopter while it's at it. Jason is dead. And then you see everyone on the parts of the bridge that remains before it starts to collapse. They just start running back. They're like, okay, well then back to the island it is. And everyone's just running. It's complete chaos, pandemonium.
I searched up how he died, and it's like he died by being crushed by Clover's tail. So
oh, that was his tail. Then. Oh. I guess. By the way, they call the creature Clovey. It's like this huge. Have you seen, guys, those of you listening, and I don't recommend you look it up, but if you've seen Alien Resurrection, there's an alien called the Newborn. Picture that, but the size of a building. Is that not what it looks like, kind of ish?
A little bit, yeah.
I just realized that. Don't look up the Newborn from Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
He's the most hideous thing I've ever seen. And I've seen some pretty messed up things in horror. Don't look that up. But just look up Clovey. Clovey from Cloverfield. You get an idea what it looks like. But yeah, and they start scrambling back onto the bridge. Actually, before the bridge snapped in half, which reminded me of a movie that I do enjoy, Final Destination 5. I know I always talk about the Final Destination movies, but in each movie, there's an accident that starts the plot of each movie. In Final Destination 5, it's a bridge collapse. And it is the best bridge collapse I have ever seen. I love Final Destination 5. But anyways, I digress. That's what it reminded me of. And they start running back. They're like, well, we can't get off the island now. We're stuck here. You see the Navy or Army or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a military guy. They show up because obviously they would. The government would deploy them ASAP. And so they show up and they start attacking the monster. And you see, HUD's filming it. You see it through his perspective. The Army show up. Tanks, missiles are showing up, blowing the creature. Doesn't seem to be doing any damage at all. He's big. And then you see these things fall from Clovey. And you're like, what is that? And they're like parasites. They're like smaller little versions of him that like are fast and agile. And they start like attacking people and like clawing at them, which is pretty terrifying actually. Until you get a close enough look at it and you're like, oh, that's horrible CGI. But anyways.
It's funny CGI.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
I think you're missing a really important point that's driving this movie, which is that Rob got a call from Beth. And his entire goal is to save her, find her wherever she may be.
Yeah. I think it actually happened on the bridge before it collapsed. Because he was on the bridge, remember?
He got like a call or something. I don't remember when he got the call. I just remember he's like, we need to go find her. And I'm just like...
Yeah, and they start running back. That was so stupid. Oh. Just let it go.
Yeah, it was honestly probably just the only reason to keep the movie going. But yeah, I think he was on the bridge. I think that actually, you know what? It's not Jason's fault that he was pushed forward. Because Rob stopped because he got the call. He got the call from Beth and she was like, hey, I'm stuck in my apartment. Like, I can't leave. Like, there's debris everywhere. Like, help me. And I remember he stopped on the bridge and he started looking back on the city. And everyone else, I guess Jason just assumed that everyone was going forward. And he kept going forward. So it's technically Rob's fault that Jason's dead. But anyways. But then again, they would have all died if they would have been in Jason's position. But Rob then forces everyone else to follow. Not really force them, but he's like, I gotta go help her. Beth is stuck in her apartment. And I'm going to save her. He doesn't know if she's alive or not because he calls back and she doesn't answer.
They go into this electrical store, right?
Oh, I think that's where they... Yeah. I think that's where they see the Clovey on TV, right?
Yeah.
Oops, my bad. I think I said that earlier. Never mind, it happens in this scene. But yeah, they go into the little store, which I assumed was earlier, but actually happens right now. Into the convenience store. And...
they go to the metro to see how to go to her apartment or something.
Oh yeah. They go to the metro subway station, and HUD makes a stupid joke like, "Oh, you really think that the trains are operating at this hour? Of course not, but it's a means of traveling without having to deal with the creature above." But they remain there for a bit. They're like contemplating what to do, and he's mapping out his little plan. He's like, "I got to go save her. We got to use this route. Go there. It's a shortcut, and then we'll come back." So they're going through the tunnels, and it's at that moment that they encounter the parasites from above, and one of them bites Marlena, I think, like in the back. Yeah, it's a pretty disgusting bite, actually. Like, it's pretty like
very
gnarly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah, they managed to fight them off for a second before going into like this other closed off area where there's like vending machines and whatnot.
They make it up to was it a department store or something?
Not yet, I think. Oh yeah.
They went into like this utility area, where, like, or whatever, and then they made it to like a department store.
Yeah, and they're like walking through the department store, and then all of a sudden they get this like bright ass light flash in their eyes, and it's the military. Yay!
Yeah, they're using the department store as like a makeshift like hospital base thing, because there's a lot of soldiers with like limbs just everywhere. It was gnarly.
Limbs everywhere.
Yeah. I remember when we were watching this, and we all saw the bright light. Well, I already knew what was gonna happen, but everyone was like, "Oh, is it dawn already? Like, is it day already?"
Yeah, it looked like it was day,
and right. I was like, "Fuck! Like, they've been in that tunnel for that long."
Like, Dad, it's already the next day, and it was the military. It's like, oh, never mind. The military, they're like, okay, like, how did you guys survive? And they're like, oh, use the subway systems in one lot. Marlene starts bleeding from her eyes in a really terrifying way, and the army's like, what happened? And they like, well, she was bit, and he's like, oh, quarantine her.
Yeah.
And they like
they pull a Ghostbuster and like, we got a live one, and they drag her away, and they take her behind a tarp, and all you see is her like screaming, and then she just fucking explodes.
Well, you see her bloating up a little bit, and then
she just explodes.
And this is HUD's love interest, so HUD's like,
literally,
oh my god,
not 30 minutes later, like they had like a nice moment where they're like bonding, and then she fucking explodes in front of him.
Yeah.
At this point, you realize this guy's just catching all of his friends dying on camera.
Yeah,
in vivid HD.
Yeah, well, we don't see her explode. It's implied because it's behind a tarp. What do you think happened? Do you think
she's dead?
Well, I mean, yeah, the blood squirted. But
I think she's dead, like, Robert.
No, I mean, like why though? Do you think like an alien, when like an alien came out of her, like a creature burst out of her, or do you think like?
Or I think there was probably a reaction with the monster saliva and like a human's blood, because they said a couple people did that. So
a couple people casually exploded.
Yeah, I had real like zombie like video game vibes from this, like where like bloaters just exploding and everything.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, I don't know, like I imagine like a creature just like exploding out of her. Maybe just because alien fan in me.
Yeah, I was about to say, Aliens has ruined you, my man.
Any sci-fi movie I see, I just compare it to Alien, which this is a sci-fi movie, so I compared it to that. But anyways, yeah, they see their friend get blown up. Rob then tells one of the army men who's telling that, we have helicopters that'll escort you off the island, and he's like, no, I need to save this person who means the world to me.
Yeah, like, if you insist.
If you go out through this way, you can go out to like whatever like lane or city or street that is.
Yeah, he's like, well, at this he's like, okay, like set your watch to this time. Like at this certain time, the helicopters are gonna leave. So if you do go try to get her, like use these alleys, but be back by this time, because if you're not, we'll all be gone. You don't want to be here for what happens next.
Oh yeah, he also tells them like, by the way, if
we're
gonna
back fucking
by this time,
nuke this place.
We have orders to level this city.
Yeah, we have orders to nuke.
Guy's like, what do you mean level the city? And I'm like, come on, man. The military's only got one option for that.
They have a big shiny red button that says nuke. That's all you need to know.
That says New York. Who was that?
They have a button that just wipes New York off all the history books automatically.
Yeah. Knowing how often New York is attacked in movies. I mean, wasn't it attacked in the Transformers movie? Of course it was. Yeah. It's used in literally anytime you want to see a city get destroyed, it's always New York. Giant lizards, New York.
LA.
Creatures, New York.
I think robots, it's easier for New York because you have all these high-rise, tall buildings, and
Yeah. I feel like the government probably has an actual thing ready for New York. After everything that's in like media, like I don't know, poor New York. But anyways, they're like, okay, like and then so they're like, okay, thank you, Army Man. We'll be back by this time for the helicopters. Let's go get back.
Thank you, Army Man.
So it's just Rob, Billy, and HUD remaining. We've got Jason out. Sucks to see you go, man, but you went out in a cool way. I like seeing the bridge collapse. Marlena, you kind of sucked, but still cool seeing you blow up.
Literally. That's depressing.
So they go find her. They somehow manage to cross the streets without much interruption, I guess, or maybe they do. I don't remember. They do reach the building. They climb up.
Didn't they?
They dodged like some army men shooting missiles.
Yeah, they saw
Yeah, you miss a whole scene where they. By the way. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, they made it without much trouble. You're missing a whole scene where they got fucking stuck in the middle of a gunfight between the army and Clovey. Fuck you mean?
These like tanks rolling in, these dudes with like bazookas and missile launch. Like,
yeah, and you're sitting here, you're like, yeah, they made it without much effort. What the fuck?
Without a scratch. Honestly, without a scratch.
Didn't one of them get shot?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I think the most damage was that Lily was in fucking heels the entire time and she was running through all this.
Oh,
Jurassic World. They do make it to her building. They go up the stairs and the building is just torn apart. Like it's a mess. And they like traverse it like carefully because there's like things hanging on barely by other things and there's wires and whatnot. They find her and like her chest, like there's like I think it's a piece of rebar, right? Like it's impaled in
like a piece of rebar, but it was in her shoulder, like between her shoulder
and like her heart, almost. It's almost near that area, right?
Yeah.
And
it's like slightly above.
She got fucked.
Yeah,
is the language you're looking for.
Yeah, and so Rob goes to her. And she's like not responding. So for a second, you're like, damn, you went through all that just to die here.
Yeah.
But at the end, she does open her eyes and she's like,
we should probably explain how they got to her apartment because that was another shit show.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I mean, it was like Indiana
Jones. You see the video, you see one tower just fully like it's still standing. The other tower is leading into it. And you're like, oh, that's not how buildings are supposed to work.
We're architects. We know.
Yeah, we're like,
we
not
know how
good ones.
Works.
Not good ones, but we know something.
They go up to the building that's still standing, basically, like the one that's architecturally you can walk in still. And the first thing they do, go to the fucking elevators.
Yeah, because those
not
are gonna work.
Yeah.
Then they have to run up God knows how many flights of stairs to get up to the roof and parkour their way into the other building.
Parkour.
Yeah. To find Beth. Now, where was the guy she was with? Who knows? He probably fell off or something.
Was he crushed or something?
Probably. He's never mentioned again.
It was just a plot device to get Rob mad. That's all.
Oh, definitely.
I don't care about the guy. I don't even know what his name was. Like, I barely remembered Marlena's name. But anyways, they find her. They yank that piece of rebar out of her chest like, ow, I guess.
Which is not the thing you're supposed to do, by the way. Complete opposite.
Yeah. Because then the blood just gushes out, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't bleed out, and then their patchwork, their like very rough patchwork was like, I would have expected a little more. Like they could have torn down like the drapes or the sheet, anything to make her like a makeshift band-aid. Nah, it was just like a jacket over her, and it's like, okay, why not?
The four of them now, Lily, Robin, Beth, and Hud, they make it to where the army guy told them to go at. So they make it. The helicopters, you see them taking off, and on one helicopter they only have one seat left, and they're like, okay, Lily, go. Lily, go towards the helicopter. And for a moment you think, oh, this helicopter's gonna go down. Nah, it goes away safely. She's safe. Lily has been saved. Okay, now we have 3 people left. Hud, Rob, and Beth. And they're like, well, there's no more seats in that helicopter, so probably gonna die. And then another one comes in last moment, last ditch effort. Alrighty, guys, like we have some seats open here. And they're like, okay. And then the 3 of them board. Last moment, you see everything, like buildings continue to collapse, and they just leave. The helicopter leaves, and they all like crying of joy. And they're like, man, we're leaving this dumpster fire of a city. And the camera zooms in on Clovey as they're about to say their final goodbye. And then Hud does say his final goodbye when Clovey attacks the helicopter and knocks it out of the sky, killing him.
Yep.
No.
No. They survived.
Because they were still not that far off the ground, I don't think.
Yeah, so they somehow survived. No.
They landed in this open field.
They crashed in this open field, and then Hud races back for the camera, and he looks up, and Clovey's staring straight at him, and then Clovey just eats him, like rips him apart. So you're like, oh, there's gonna be like a nice moment here, but no, he just rips him apart.
And then the camera somehow falls from his hands, right? Because he was holding it. And then for some godforsaken reason, Rob goes back for the fucking camera.
And picks it up. Yeah. I honestly thought Hud died. Helicopter. I honestly wished. I'm already wishing for him to die. But you're right. I forgot. They fall down. Clovey eats him. Clovey straight up eats him. Drops the camera. And again, kind of how Cynthia says, like, Rob picked it up, but like in found footage movies, you have to have a reason why. It makes sense in Blair Witch, in Unfriended, in Paranormal Activity. Why would Rob do it here? Why? The camera literally has no importance to him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would Rob pick it up other than to see the story continue? That's my issue with found footage. You have to do it right. There has to be a reason why.
There's a specific way, and the way they did it was just like, nope.
Yeah, this movie, I think, either used found footage for the budget or to get it more of a horror feeling, which is, I would say, it succeeded in that for making it on the list, because if not, it would not have been on my list. But also, like, you need a reason why. Don't cop out. But anyways, they do. Rob picks up the camera, and he and Beth go under a bridge, and they're like, okay, we have to say our goodbyes or something, and they're like, we love each other, and they start like hugging and whatnot, and they're like, okay, like, we're just gonna wait for some transport to come pick us up. And then I guess they remember, or the viewer rather remembers, what the army man had said about leveling the city, and you see these jets fly over the city, and you're like, oh, okay, the moment I've been waiting for. And yeah, the whole camera just shakes, rocks collapse, everything ends. That's got to be a high kill count. And I don't think it's mentioned. I don't think
that doesn't got a score streak.
So yeah, the movie ends there, and then at the end of the movie, I think it's restated that it's a property of the U.S. government. So at some point, actually no, the movie does not end there, because when the camera's hit by the nuke, it kind of switches the recording to a prior recording, which shows Rob and Beth at a Ferris wheel. And I guess it's
the day before, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like a day before, and it's kind of hit to, like, I know, give you like an emotional punch as to like, oh, look at these people, look at their relationship. Oh, now they're dead.
Look what could have been.
Also, something I didn't notice, but that was I think Cynthia or Alex told me about, is that in the background of that recording, they're on Coney Island. I'm pretty sure it's Coney Island. They're on a Ferris wheel. Yeah, and you see like they're recording like the ocean out, like, you see the water, and you see this thing fall out of the sky. you have to pay really close attention. It falls out of the sky. It's pretty far away, but it's pretty big because it makes a splash. And then they go back to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, like this is us signing off. Bye." And then it says, property of the Department of Defense and the government owns it. So assuming if you follow the events, New York is nuked, and then I guess the army has to come back in to pick up the camera. So I'm assuming that the army rolls into New York after it's been nuked. They find the footage, probably to analyze further what Cloverfield is. Movie ends, credits roll. And yeah, what would Cynthia, what would you say would be your favorite scene from the movie?
Favorite scene was the events leading up to the bridge. So like the anxiety, the clustered of the crowds, the like you still technically haven't seen a monster yet, which I think that makes the movie slightly strong in the beginning where you don't see it because it's like, what is it? What the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
The second they bring it in, it just goes downhill for me. But
yeah. It's kind of like, remember when we watched Blair Witch Project? I remember like the scene where Heather's like, "What the hell is that?" But you don't see what it is. Yeah. It's almost like what made her scream and say that. Which again, another found footage film, and I'm referencing it because of course I would. But Blair Witch does that. Where it's like, "What is that?" But you don't see what it is. But yeah, once you see Clovey, it's like, "Oh, okay then, I guess." But what about you, Alex? What's your favorite scene?
The credits. Nah, fuck me.
Okay.
I don't know. All the scenes with the actual monster are pretty sick.
I think my favorite scene would be, again, like kind of how Cynthia said, leading up to the appearance of the monster, like where they're in the street and you see the Statue of Liberty head just bounce from building to building, and then you see just the shape move in all the smoke, but you don't know what it is. You just see an outline moving.
I hear people like, "What is it?" Or "I saw it. I saw what it is. It's alive." And you're just like, more questions, and you're just helpless. You're just all this destruction and chaos around you, and that was really real.
Or the scene where they're focusing on the army men shooting at Clovey, and then you see these things fall from the sky, and it's revealed that they're just parasites. I think that's pretty terrifying, because then it's not only just an attack to the building, but it's also like a ground attack, and it's like, that's more scarier, I would say. But yeah, either one of those scenes I like. Pretty terrifying. From what I've seen, most people they don't really either really like it or really hate it. It's just a movie that exists. It's not something that you're like,
I wouldn't watch it again. I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, I don't think there's a rewatch value for this. People aren't like, "Oh man, I really like this movie," but people also aren't like, "I really hate it." Like, you don't like it or hate it. It's just
like, if it's on, if someone's watching it who hasn't seen it, I'll be like, I'll stick around just to like, see some parts again, but I won't physically go out of my way, put the movie on, and rewatch it.
Yeah. It's just whatever. It's like, which is one of the reasons why I didn't even want to put it on my list, except for the fact that it is found footage. Because even like, at least Critters, I hate. I hate Critters. But that's the reason why I put it on the list, because I hate it, and I wanted to show it to people who can then end up being like, "Yeah, no, Robert, you're right in justifying that. You do hate it." But like in this, it's like, it's just whatever. It's like Godzilla meets the Blair Witch Project as 5 young New Yorkers record a horrific monster attack on a herky-jerky home video while running for their lives. A lot of people are comparing this to the Blair Witch, which is understandable. That's literally, if someone were to ask you to describe Cloverfield, Godzilla meets Blair Witch Project. Bam. That's all you need to know. Okay, I'm done. I've seen the movie then. People die, sure. It's not bad. It's not egregiously bad. It's directed by Matt Reeves, so I know it could be better. The characters can be better. The characters in the Planet of the Apes trilogy I like. I don't like any of these characters. But
not only that, but they're all dead, so like in the like sequels or whatever, it's like you get new people, so you're just like, here we go again. Same monster, different people.
Yeah. Even then, the monsters are different. Which, now that you bring it up, moving on to the legacy of this film, of which there are 2 other films. Now, that being said, before I go into the legacy of the film, Cloverfield is J.J. Abrams' brainchild. And here's the rant I've been meaning to go over. Here we go, boys. Strap in. J.J. Abrams, the whole Cloverfield idea, the whole idea of this creature came from him. It's him, produced all of the movies. It's all his idea. He wanted a horror franchise. This is it. The Cloverfield franchise is his horror franchise. But I know J.J. Abrams, and he's one of my least favorite directors. And I'm sorry if I'm offending people out there who like J.J. Abrams movies, but I hate him. He has a tendency. He has this concept, which he has a TED Talk on it actually, and it's about a mystery box. And what's in a mystery box? As a movie person, you can have a mystery box and not reveal what it is because it keeps people asking for more.
That maybe there are times when mystery is more important than knowledge. I started getting interested in this. And so I started thinking about Lost and the stuff that we do, and I realized, oh my God, like mystery boxes are everywhere in what I do. And how the thing is that it represents infinite possibility. It represents hope. It represents potential. And what I love about this box, and what I realized I sort of do in whatever it is that I do, is I find myself drawn to infinite possibility and that sense of potential.
Kind of like how Cynthia said, like, if you don't see the monster, it keeps you intrigued. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. Like, well, I want to see it. I want to see it. But you have to reach a climax when you see it, like a satisfying one where you're like, oh, that's what it is. Like, after all that, you wanting to know what it is, you have to deliver on it. J.J. Abrams does not know how to do that. And I will use other franchises to explain that. For instance, and he uses that concept, by the way, in everything he works on. Everything. I will use Star Wars and Star Trek as examples, because I feel like he has destroyed those franchises. I'm sorry if you guys like the Star Wars sequels or Star Trek, the new movies, but J.J. Abrams directed The Force Awakens, right? I would say there's no creativity in that, because it's literally okay, so I don't like The Force Awakens. I know people like The Force Awakens. I don't like it.
It was all right.
Okay, yes, it's all right, but that's because it's a modern version of A New Hope. That's why it has. It's not a. I was gonna say it's not a remake, but that's kind of what it is. But it's a modern remake. It's like
retelling.
It takes all the major beats, but just changes it up. For instance, in the beginning of New Hope, you have the droid who has the plans for something that's important. The droid escapes captivity and finds the hero who's on a desert planet, right? R2-D2, New Hope, Darth Vader captures Leia, but R2-D2 escapes captivity, ends up on Tatooine, meets our hero on the desert planet, Luke. If you go to The Force Awakens, Poe is with BB-8. BB-8, unlike R2-D2 who had the plans for the Death Star, BB-8 has the plans to find Luke Skywalker's whereabouts. Poe gets captured, BB-8 escapes captivity, ends up on the desert planet Jakku, meets our hero Rey.
Yes.
You have the old mentor who is kind of a leftover from the previous trilogy to help be the guiding force in this movie. For instance, if you watch this chronologically, you have Obi-Wan, who's from the prequel trilogy. Obi-Wan is the guiding mentor for Luke in A New Hope. He's a leftover of the story from the prequels, even though the prequels came after. But, you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
In this, Han Solo. Han Solo is the leftover of the original trilogy. He's the mentor. He's showing Finn and Rey, all about the Millennium Falcon. And then, of course, they both die on a Death Star-esque ship.
Yes.
Obi-Wan dies at the hands of Vader on the Death Star. Han Solo dies at the hands of Kylo Ren on Starkiller Base.
Yeah, and it was basically a retelling.
Yeah, and Starkiller Base is literally just the Death Star 3.0, which I hate, because at least the Death Star was creative, even though they used it twice. But the Starkiller Base is such a cop-out, because Death Star destroys planets one at a time, and you feel this sense of urgency, like you have to destroy the Death Star. The Starkiller Base manages to destroy like eight planets in one blow, and it's like,
hell yeah.
Okay, I guess that's
okay, yeah.
I mean, in a couple of minutes, you destroy the Republic in like 2 minutes. But that's me explaining how The Force Awakens is literally just a rehash of A New Hope. But J.J. Abrams uses that concept of the mystery box, which it's a good concept, but I hate the way he uses it. The reason why it's great is because you pay it off, or you don't make it a plot point of your movie. For instance, in Pulp Fiction, I know they have this whole suitcase where you're like, what's in it? What's in it?
They never reveal it.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect future installments. It doesn't affect the story. You get what I mean? Whereas in The Force Awakens, why is Luke Skywalker on this island? Why is he there? Like, what is it? Like, what happened to make Luke Skywalker go there? Why did Han Solo leave Leia? Why did Kylo Ren, the son of Han and Leia, become evil? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? You want to know why. He doesn't answer, which is fine. You can answer in the other movies. But he didn't give notes. He didn't tell anyone. But he had planned because he had no plans. He was like, alrighty, next director, take what I use.
He was like, bet.
That's fine. I know they did want to do what the original Star Wars trilogy did, but in modern days, in modern day, when it comes to building a universe, you have to have a plan, which is why the MCU works. Because that's why Star Wars fails. Because it worked back then because it was inventive then, but now it's like, well, you can't just do that anymore.
You can't just keep going, dude.
So when Rian Johnson comes in and explains, well, this is why Kylo Ren became evil, this is why Luke's on the island, this is why that, this is why this.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel satisfying because it's not what you were. It doesn't build off. If J.J. Abrams were to have directed, say, the second movie in the trilogy and explain it, it would have been satisfying. I can guarantee it would have been satisfying because it would have been his idea. But even he didn't have an idea. He's like, just whatever, man. Whoever is next, follow the story. Which, no, that's not how you plan things out. And then so eventually they saw the dumpster fire that was The Last Jedi because people weren't satisfied with the story.
There's nothing satisfying about that damn story.
Yeah. But I don't fully blame Rian Johnson. Yes, I don't like what he did, but also it's not his fault because there was no plan. J.J. Abrams didn't say anything. So it was like, well, let me just do what I'm going to do then because that's what the last guy did. And so obviously when they contacted J.J. Abrams to do The Rise of Skywalker, I was like, people were hyped, and I'm like, why are you hyped? It's not going to be good. And yes, I was right.
Come on, man.
Trilogy... No, it's not good, dude. What does each trilogy do? How does each trilogy end? Palpatine is the main villain of each trilogy before. Why not make him the villain in this trilogy? Even though it doesn't make any sense. But hey, J.J. Abrams following how the trilogies end, man. You gotta tie it back together. That's why people hate the sequel trilogy, because it's a mess. It's a mess. It's all J.J. Abrams' fault, though. J.J. Abrams kind of did the same to Star Trek. He wanted to talk about, you wanted to make a movie on the famous Star Trek characters.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk, Spock, those characters, even if you don't watch Star Trek.
Never seen an episode, by the way. Never seen a movie.
Their stories are told. Their stories are told. Generations have passed. You have Picard, who's part of the new generation. You can't make new movies on these characters when it wouldn't fit anymore. So what do? Time travel. You can keep all the stories you like.
Technology. We have the technology. That was basically that entire movie. It was like, we have the technology.
You can keep the stories you like growing up. Heck, we even have old Spock to show that. But these are new stories. It's called the Kelvin timeline now. So yeah. And, it's cop-out. That's what I hate about J.J. Abrams. He uses all of his movies, all of his franchises are cop-outs. I'm sorry, I went on a rant, but that's the reason why this franchise is a mess. Cop-outs. He's cheap, lazy. Sorry. But anyways, but that's what he does. So,
harsh words.
So
I feel like at this point you should just sue the guy for emotional distress.
So J.J. Abrams wants a horror franchise, but he doesn't put the work into it, just like he did with Star Wars, just like he did with Star Trek.
So much retconning, like a ridiculous amount of retconning to make it work.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane the amount of shit they try to, like, explain away.
He wanted a franchise, right? A horror franchise. Yeah. But the thing is, he didn't put the work into it. He didn't care. He didn't care where the franchise went. So instead of trying to produce new movies, instead of saying, well, this is where the franchise can go with these monsters, with these creatures, another movie was being made called The Cellar. There was another movie being made about this lady who was being kind of held hostage by this guy in his bunker. And he was saying, you know, there's these creatures above. There's these creatures who have invaded the planet. They're aliens. And you can't go out. And it's a psychological movie. And at the end, you know, it's revealed that it is. J.J. Abrams bought the rights to that because it was like, that idea sounds really good.
Yeah, he's like, that sounds sick. Yoink.
Yeah, that's literally what he did. He, instead of making a new movie, he literally just got another movie.
He pulled a Disney. He pulled a Disney is what you want to say.
Yeah. It was supposed to be called The Cellar, but you guys know it as 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's right. That movie was supposed to be something else. And
entirely. Like, not even, like, that whole sequence at the end, I don't think that was even supposed, like, the whole time it was supposed to be that the guy was crazy. It was never supposed to be that he was telling the truth.
By the way, that movie is regarded as the best one in the franchise. John Goodwin, I believe, plays the guy.
Because he had no... No. Want to know why? Because he had no place in the story. That's why. He had no control over the story. They bought the story from somewhere else. That's why it's the best one.
When you watch Cloverfield, it's these primitive looking creatures. They're these beasts. That's what they are. They're beasts.
So that's another thing I want to bring up. So in the movie, it's explained that he came from the ocean. That he's this thing that's been dormant for however long years. What was it? They said like thousands of years.
Yeah, he pulled a Godzilla.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden in the later movies, they're like, oh no, he was actually an alien. And then in the final one, so okay, every movie has a different explanation. The first one, it's like, oh, it's like a monster. It's like a sea creature. And then the second one is like, oh no, it's an alien. And then the third one, they're like, oh, it's an interdimensional being. Like, each time they just keep getting like more and more insane and batshit crazy. Trying to tie this huge mess together.
Yeah, because it's a primitive beast. And then when you watch the second one, which is 10 Cloverfield Lane, it's literally straight up a UFO. It's a UFO. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a UFO. This creature that you see in the first, there's no way that creature has the capability to make anything that sophisticated.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
The thing's stupid.
And so, like,
it's stupid.
So when you watch,
they could have just done what Godzilla do, which is like
what Godzilla do?
Giant meteor. I don't remember the monster.
Oh, King Ghidorah.
Yeah, King Ghidorah. They had it. Do you know? It's just in a meteor. It was just there. You know. Yeah. Outer space was the whole thing. It's just there.
Yeah, but yeah, like J.J. Abrams didn't care about making new movies until the opportunity presented itself. Is what I'm trying to say. The movie The Cellar was presented. Oh, bought that, reworked it into the franchise, changed a little bit things here and there.
Bought it, change it. Bing bam boom, got a movie.
Part of the franchise. Heck
Part of the franchise.
Now, actually, I just researched this up, and he actually did the same with the third one. It was actually supposed to be called God Particle.
Oh yeah.
So the third one again. Now the third one has the most changes, I believe, because in the second one there's not much change. There obviously is some to make it part of the franchise, but the third one is about these scientists in the future who make some satellite which creates these interdimensional portals, as Alex had mentioned, and there's these alternate reality shenanigans, right? And then it's revealed that through that they had accidentally opened up a portal which led the Cloverfield monsters into
as you do.
But it was actually originally supposed to be just called God Particle. And again, J.J. Abrams incorporated it into the Cloverfield franchise, and now it's called Cloverfield paradox.
And
Cloverfield
in the
paradox.
process, completely fucking ruined the movie.
Yeah, this movie, sucks. This movie is regarded as the worst of the franchise by a mile. Yes, that's right. You heard us say we didn't like Cloverfield. Well, then you can imagine how, and we didn't watch this. You can imagine how Cloverfield paradox is viewed as. But yeah, he literally just used this movie as an excuse to explain where the creatures came from. Well, then how does that tie into aliens from the second? Well, they're also interdimensional beings from a different reality where aliens exist from. And it's like,
why?
This is so
It's
lazy,
like,
dude.
why?
This franchise encapsulates J.J. Abrams perfectly. I'm sorry if you like the sequels from Star Wars. I don't. They're a cop out.
Sorry,
you might enjoy them.
Sorry, basically, what Robert's trying to say is sorry if you don't have any class. Not fucking with
like if
I'm
you
kidding.
like them,
I'm kidding. I like them.
No.
I actually enjoy the Star Wars movies. They were fun to watch.
If you like them, that's cool. But like my personal opinion is,
fuck him.
He's cheap, and the reason why they failed, at least why the majority of people say that they fail, is because of J.J. Abrams. And even though people are like, well, he did The Force Awakens, and I'm like, well, that's exactly how you set the wrong foot to begin the franchise. But anyways, did the same Star Trek. It's why Star Trek is pretty much dead now. But yeah, that was my rant on the legacy of the Cloverfield franchise. Next episode, I promise I won't be that pissed. Actually, no, I will.
He's fucking lying. He's lying. Do not believe this man.
No, I do not like next. Okay, so next episode is movie number 89.
Expect
Finally
more
in the
ranting.
80s.
Expect more ranting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'll be ranting about the next episode too. I don't like the movie.
It's okay, Robert.
It's okay, Bobby.
It's okay.
I know. Now that being said, I know people do like it. People do like it, but I also know people that don't like it. I've looked at the reviews of this movie, and it's actually pretty polarizing. People either like it, people either hate it, and I'm sorry, people, because it's on the list. You can already assume I'm in the camp that hates it.
I mean, obviously you don't hate it that much since it's 89 and not like 95. So
yeah, the reason I don't hate it, well, I'll actually explain it in that episode, so you guys should tune in. By the way, next episode is about Swedish cult. I already gave it off. You guys already know what movie it is, and you guys are probably like, "You hate that movie?" Yes, I do. You'll see us next time. That episode.
See us next time on Robert Hates.
Robert Hates. Should be called Robert Hates these bottom 20 movies on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, so for 20 movies, we're gonna hear you rant?
Actually,
don't try and sound so angry.
No. I would say around movie number 85. It's gonna be better. So actually, just these last 10 movies. But yeah, I'm your co-host Robert,
and I'm your co-host Alex.
And thank you, Cynthia, for joining us on watching Cloverfield.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Robert Hates.
And having to put up with my rants.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me here.
You don't have to thank us. See you guys. Hopefully next week. We're gonna try.
And catch you guys all on the witching hour.